Not first? Pretty sure you're very first. Good morning, Hugo. Where are you from anyway? What time is it over there? Are you Australian? Germany? Oh. Time zone buddies. Need to make buttons for these scene changes. Make things easier. Got the coffee. What's Hugo up today? Up to today. Can't speak. Where were we? I just gave back the book. This, this was supposed to go on her. You're pigging? Pigging out on a Sunday? That was what that means. War mask. Making sure that none of these are actually usable. Grants immunity to dazed and blinded. She can have something equipped there. Maybe I should just give her this thing here. But no, this is definitely something I should have. It's just I need a level in concentration so we can avoid the negative. Later baking bread and working out. Sounds good. I kind of miss baking bread, even though I was never good at it. Now that I'm on a carnivore diet, there's no point. Legacy Expert. Dominant tide silver blue. The silver tide represents prestige, power, and renown. People attuned to this tide desire admiration and respect, all the more because of the influence it gives them in the lives of others. Leaders, celebrities, heroes, and autocrats are often attuned to this tide. The blue tide represents wisdom, reason, and enlightenment. People attuned to this tide seek information and the preservation of knowledge in all forms, whether scientific or spiritual. Scholars, teachers, guides, and mystics are often attuned to this tide. I think silver blue is like the easiest to slip into. Ornament. Oh, this you. Oh, you just equip that like that. Bonus movement speed. Bonus to attack. All right, let's just give that to Matkina. And this gives her -2 ranged weapon skill, but that doesn't matter. think we can sell pretty much everything. -1 in stealth. I can use that. +1 to perception. This one is not that bad. It's just that it's a penalty to persuasion, which might kind of suck, but I think most of the time someone else can do that. Even so, we can just put it on Calistige for the time being. She doesn't even get a penalty. Alright, so what do we have today? Check the journal, I don't remember where we were. The Lord Bunkin, where the Stitches is hiding, we didn't finish that. Return to Omadon. Oh yeah. Discover Oom's purpose. Oh. But I talked to him. Well, whatever. Maybe we didn't talk to him enough.
Fine.
The genocide. Should we talk to the genocide?
Yes.
What's going on over here? A jumble of boulders and debris lie at the foot of the surrounding cliffside. The broken remains of ancient devices lie among the fallen stone, while off to one side a metallic canister sticks out of the top of the pile. It appears mostly intact. She be tidying my Numenera, if you know what I mean? No, I don't know what you mean at all. I don't understand that thing you just said. Examine the canister. Leaning over, you notice that the container is hollow with an opening in the top providing full access to the interior. A quick glance reveals that it is empty. While most of the canister is relatively intact, a small part of its exterior wall has been pried open, exposing delicate mechanisms. Examine the rocks? Yeah, that's what I look like replying to you. You notice a slight gleam as the light hits some of the rocks at just the right angle. You lean closer. Tiny mechanical devices are embedded in the rock. A quick search of the rest of the pile reveals that only a small percentage of the rocks are more than they appear. By putting the rocks in the canister, oh shit. You scoop up a handful of the smaller rocks and start placing them in the canister. As you place some of the rocks, the container beeps. Through trial and error, you discover that it only does this for the stones containing devices. You empty the canister and make sure to only place stones with devices into it. Just as you run out of such stones, a low tone sounds, and two small buttons extend from the exterior of the canister about half a finger's width. Upon reaching full extension, the buttons light up, one with an aqua-colored light and another with a golden light. Where's the gold button? Translucent smoky gray film extends over the top of the canister and the buttons retract entirely. Dim light flashes once within the dark recesses of the container, then the film retracts. Peeking within the newly opened canister, you see only a small device within. No trace of the rocks remain. You quickly pocket the device. Confers Conflict Advisor. Plus 30% to evasion and plus 45% on attacks. Active entire crises. That's really strong. Try putting more rocks in the canister. Smash the stones to extract what you can. Who's the best at smashing here? Is it me? It's me. Let Makina do it. You remove the stones from the canister and set to work. Soon you have a tidy pile of components that should serve as shins. When you look back at the canister, you find that the buttons have lost their light and receded back into the device. Okay. You are appreciated as well, Vocab. You're very appreciated here. This burly, armor-clad figure stands almost motionless as you approach. He regards you silently through his singular eye. The studs on his arms and the blades on his shoulders are stained and pitted with age. When he speaks, his voice is muffled and artificial, a hollow grumble that emanates from the entirety of the helmet. I am the genocide. If you ask, I must answer. Pass on, then, and exchange no words. His surface thoughts are like a crystal pool, alternately transparent or else perfectly reflecting his words. His mind reveals nothing hidden except for a low-level hatred of everything around him. This latter is more a feeling you get than an actual thought you can hear. What are you? I am a blade that cannot cut, a weapon that cannot strike, a living monument to failure. He shifts his weight. You hear the frown in his voice. I was Ogesti Telkotu, the firm hand of tradition. They called me one of the Black Three. Enemies did not understand us. They took my name to mean death in a dozen extinct tongues. Called me Orphan Maker, Hope Smasher, Death's Child. My armies blackened the earth and the skies. My Dragoliths scoured the land. Domination was my duty. If they had known, if they had welcomed us, they might have been our thralls. Instead, they became dust. He gestures. All this, it was to have been mine in stewardship for the future of my people. It was promised. But now, his arms fall back on his side. Now I am the genocide. A relict, the last of my kind. You said you were the last of your kind. Why? I know of no others. Kalagat Anvor, he who shares truth and understanding, is dead. Bostulelo, the blinding light of reason, was destroyed. The underspine has fallen. My people are destroyed utterly, and our servant God speaks to us no longer. The clean lines of order and the glory of battle have forsaken us. He pauses. The rest are dust. We rose against a superior foe and were outmatched. Only I remain to tell the story of the Tabat. You said you had to answer if I asked. Why? From within the helmet you hear a grinding noise, the sound of teeth gnashing amplified. Then the voice again, bleak. We sat at the river's edge and we wept for the time that was. We saw nothing more to conquer, and yet our fears still drove us. We had conquered the land and purged its impurities, made it ours. Still we wanted more. When we heard that humans had come to carve a home, we rejoiced to have a new foe, a new test of our truth. We rode against them. We drove them to the forge of the night sky, to the valley of Emrajolios, to the dangers of the Black Riage. But those who built atop these ruins, they thwarted us, time and again. And so we brought our constructs and our deadliest warriors to the bay outside the city. We laid a mighty siege. Hello, Cece. Do you have time to be here? Don't you? Aren't you like live right now? No, you're not. I thought you were still passed out on your stream. No, you're not. I thought you were still passed out on your stream. You wrapped it all up. You finished your level. Is the level gonna take 24 hours to play as well? We entered the human settlement. We fought past barricades and traps. Some of our constructs are still here, silent and dead. But then we thought we had achieved our greatest victory. He lowers his head. A powerful nano saved them. With his magics he called upon the strength of the ancients and captured us. I thought my life was at an end, but he imprisoned me in slow time, trapped me in my body. used machines to paralyze my will. I still remember our glories, and I see the faded future in front of me, and I am powerless to act. The memories of our triumphs remain always at the forefront of my mind, and I must answer the mocking questions of these people, or suffer. Can you tell me about the Nano who trapped you here? How did he stop you? 3 hours to upload? I didn't know they ended up that big, like, size-wise. That's kind of weird. The genocide raises his hands in defeat. He found all knowledge and made it his own. He created defenses that we could not penetrate. Most telling, most effective, the shield generators. He created 3 barriers around the heart of the city, and the last unmoored the city in time. When our constructs touched it, they flashed to stasis. We could not reach the city, but the city could reach us. You feel the ticklings of memory as the genocide speaks of the shields. He continues to talk, oblivious. Let the memory come. The memory from the orb in the labyrinth comes upon you again, stronger than before, but now you remember it as it happened, not as you wished it had. You fought against the woman with the invisible blade, and you crept past the guards at the base of the stairs, and you descended into the basement of your tower. You activated generators and ascended to the command platform on the heights. Because I had no idea if any of it was beatable as I was doing it. Oh yeah. That's what playtesting is about. Oh, you had to cancel it? Oh no. The nearby panels buzz and crackle with unseen energies. The shields, you mutter. We need the shields now. You press several buttons. A generator coughs into life and the lights flicker for a moment. A faint veil of energy encircles the city, and there is a strange and terrible stillness, as if the world held its breath. The rest of the memory is bloodshed. The humans of Sega's cliffs made the stranded Tabat pay. And then the memory fades. You know how the Nano who saved the city became the changing god. You know it was he who defeated the Tabat. You remember the hatred. But you do not remember the girl who was with you. What was her name? The genocide watches you silently. You seem very calm for someone who has been imprisoned for centuries. I have been defeated. I have nothing to fight for. My captor castrated me with the tool they made to dampen my natural urges. I can remember the actions. I can recall the glory. But I feel shame, regret. I am weakened, but not by my volition. The genocide squeezes his fists. What does it matter? Those who stood against me are all dead. I am victorious. I no longer fight with a blade. My weapon is time. He leans in closer. I do not die. I cannot be wounded. I am held like a beetle in sap. Why would I not be serene? He settles back. The underspine spoke of my destiny. It's an awful experience health-wise. Dude, just wait for your upcoming 24-hour streams. Managed to raise $250 for children in need. That's not bad. How did they stop you from trying to escape? The Nano who raised the city's shields created a device. He called it the Mind Seer. With it he violated my mind, my memories, and everything that was at the core of my being. In a fit of vengeance he tore truths from me. He made me betray my people. He rewrote my mind. He gave me perfect clarity into the past, and gelded my ability to shape the future. You just gotta play levels. Well, yeah, I mean, eventually you lose, you run out of ideas. Right, like, it's just randomly placing tiles and shit. It's just... Like, what do you even do? The Tabat never sought revenge against foes who were mightier than we. We devised stratagems to defeat them. We tested ourselves. We did not punish or hate. Punishment was purification. This, though, is torture. The worst of the city's refuse can mock me now. They can ridicule and jape, and I am powerless to strike them for their impudence. Then, quieter. And now they do not even do that. I have become a fixture, an irrelevance, a non-entity. I am the slave to... You hear his teeth grinding as he thinks of the perfect insult. To peacemakers. I must endure their presence and feel their corruption sink into me daily. Some foreign part of me desires it. He thumps his fist into his hand. But I remember that I will triumph over them. Eventually they will die, and I will not. The Nano who defeated you was the changing god. He and his children still live. His voice is flat and dead. Others have claimed this. I do not know if they say this to torment me, but if our enemy was a god, even if he was once but a man, then to stand against him is to spit in the face of the divine. The Tabat were a holy people. Humans do not believe it, but our rites were as sacred to us as they were profane to your kind. We accepted the will of the ineffable. Any who still live may yet find the mantle of godhood. To be divine is to be beyond the rule of mortal ethics. Those who would be gods must cast aside these concerns, if they are to turn against the old teachings. Often raided me near the end of my streams and said he wanted to invite me to his streams, and he would play the level with me on comms. Hey, maybe that'll be what makes it fun. You mentioned the Tabat. Who or what were they? My people, his voice is forlorn. Great warriors. We owned this land. We served the Underspine, and it served us. We sought truth in victory. We ascended to epiphany. We were pure, incorruptible, indivisible even in disunity. We found strength in one another, and proved it with bloody blades. But we fell, and the Underspine fell. And so, too late, we learned a new truth. But I carry the old ways as a seed within my heart. Why did the Tabat fight so much? For honor, for truth, for the one way, because it was our duty. We were born to the blade. So it was written, so we chose. Free will is a curse unless given to a greater purpose. Our purpose was given to us by the Underspine, given to the Underspine by our ancestors, who found it and crystallized our essence forever. Oof. Kaizo enjoyer? I'm not sure I know that term. Unless that's like, I want to be the guy. Can you tell me more about the Underspine? Our slave. Maximum difficulty. Oh yeah. Yeah, so it is I want to be the guy. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember when that came along. I played the original. And when I say the original, I don't mean I want to be the guy. I mean the little cat within the Super Mario world. In the Super Mario 1 setting. You've never played I Want to Be the Guy? Well, that's a stream for you, I guess. At some point if you don't want to play Mega Man Maker. There's There's I Wanna Be the Boshi as well, but that's the sequel. I Wanna Be the Guy Maker. I don't remember anything like that, but I don't see why not. I need water. Ooh. Water. You know, I remember watching some streamers play that back in the day. It was pretty nice. I mean, because it eventually leads to someone flipping out because you can't stream the game like 4 or 5 hours a day every single day without losing your mind. It's just not gonna happen. Maybe I should stream it. Is that the next stream? I want to be the guy? I don't really want to because it's not fun. It's literal torture. It's only fun for other people. It is absolutely rage-inducing. Like, it's crazy. Because there's just so much bullshit. I don't know, man. Where is my... I have a document somewhere that I call like games to play. Where is it? Desktop? Games. This is old as hell. I don't want to play Xenoblade anymore. I had like a huge list. Math, even more math, even more math, more math 2, more math. Trigonometry math notes. Okay, my game thing is gone. But yeah, okay, let's add I wanna be the guy. Okay. Just so I ever remember it. I haven't, that game hasn't even crossed my mind if in years. Anyway, what did we talk about here? Can you tell me more about the Underspine? Our slave, our god, our prize. It kept us holy, kept us pure and unchanging, anchored to a fixed point. The world turned around us, but we remained constant. When the world brought inconsistency, we fed it blood. Well, you can play I Wanna Be the Guy with an arcade stick too. That's kind of cool. I don't think it's really worth it, but you can. He pauses. The Underspine was our soul, our confessor. We knew clean, hard rapture from it. We knew our path. It gave us the words of the ancient Tabat, and our path was rigid, unbending, absolute. What was the Underspine? He considers. You would not understand. It was a machine. It was a stone. It was a cavern. It was a city. It was the direct voice of our ancestors. It spoke in our heads, and in our ears, and in our hearts. We heard its voice. Oh, I still have an alarm set here. Good thing I couldn't sleep and woke up early, so I didn't get woken up early by it. Maybe I still do. I mean, it's kind of nice to play it with an arcade stick. The only issue with that is that it makes a lot of noise. The microphone's gonna pick it up whenever you smack the buttons. Well, if you want to hear smack, 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 smack all the time. Did I put my stick away? Yeah, I think so. It's pretty big, so. You would not understand. It was a machine. It was a stone. It was a cavern. It was a city. It was the direct voice of our ancestors. It spoke in our heads, and in our ears, and in our hearts. We heard its voice in our creches, in our daily instructions. Our God was true and strong and singular, not the fickle, inconstant things of the modern day. I want more RPGs. Why are there not more RPGs? Why doesn't anybody make RPGs? There's like nothing coming out. Like ever. It's weird. Just because it needs insane amounts of art assets and writing and gameplay and shit. RPG. I don't know what to. I don't even know what to write to find RPGs. RPG. I mean, I only really want to play RPGs in some fashion. I don't really like other games for the most part. But this is the problem with searching for RPG, because RPG doesn't mean shit. I've already played like every single old RPG, except for like the really old DOS ones, but those are all like wizardry and I don't really want to play them. But you can look for like, oh, we can go from this game. More like this, but this is just new ones. I don't want to play that, I don't want to play that, I don't want to play that, I don't want to play that. This is on my list, I don't want to play that. We played that. What the fuck is this? Colony ship. I don't want to play PlayStation 1 RPGs. First of all, played most of them. They're all the same. You have to really you have to really not mind pressing attack if you want to play PlayStation 1 RPGs. And I can't do that anymore because I played all of them. So I just can't do that anymore. Like I've played Final Fantasy for 30 years already. I can't do it anymore. I don't know what this is. Let's just add that to the wish list. I need an actual gameplay system or role-playing or something in the game. Like, I cannot play JRPGs anymore. It's not possible. Anyway. What's going on in this goofy game? Right now we're in the beginning. The beginning is a little bit... But I like the story, more or less. I like the setting, I like your character. When I meant RPG, I meant like Resident Evil likes with tank controls and weird cameras. That's not an RPG. or, or do you mean specifically like wizardry dungeon crawlers where you're just walking around in like a labyrinth, first person, and you're walking, you know, step by step forward? That's an RPG for sure, but it's a very special kind of RPG. Or it's rather the original kind of RPG, I would say. I wouldn't mind not turn-based. Okay, so you just mean video games. Any video game for PS1. Anyway, we're just walking around in the first city just doing quests right now. The first town is a little bit directionless. You kind of end up just going around talking to everyone and just doing side quests until you kind of stumble on the path. What was the Underspine? He considers. You would not understand. It was a machine, it was a stone, it was a cavern, it was a city, it was the direct voice of our ancestors. It spoke in our heads and in our ears and in our hearts. We heard its voice in our crutches, in our daily instruction. Our God was true and strong and singular, not the fickle, inconstant things of the modern day. What's the benefit of an absolute path? We had no questions about our duty, about our goals, only the particulars. We erased doubts in the purity of utter certainty. Questions raised are questions answered, or they are heresy. No need for self-agony. The necessity of introspection was transmuted into optimization of our paths, into fashioning ourselves into the pinnacle of our achievements. Clear definition in life creates truth, not this pitiful shadow. What happened to the Underspine? You can hear the frown in his voice. Sabotage or failure. One of those under my command told me that it had whispered defeat into his ears, as if it had sickened, lost sight of the true path. Given the question, the Underspine denied this. My soldier was cast out, and I suffered the barb for his doubt. It was later, years later, that the Underspine broke, after our failure, and I have never been sure if the seeds for our defeat were planted in those days. He shuffles his feet. The nano who captured me, who nailed me to time. He used the Mind Seer to ferret out the Underspine's location. I do not know if he ever found it in the world. He raped a genocide from me, and mocked me with his sobriquet. What the fuck is that? Sobriquet. A person's nickname. Okay. I was not to blame. I will stand before the Underspine and swear my innocence. If your path was unbending, it's no wonder you broke. I do not bend now. I have been driven down, but I do not bend. I live, and those who stood against me are dead. He turns away from you slightly. Do you have more questions, or do you release me? Let me ask about something else. You feel the genocide's gaze upon you through the visor, but he is silent. You mentioned the shield generators. Can you tell me about them again? I told you of their effect. They unmoored the city in time. They severed our supply lines. They left us vulnerable and defeated us. The Underspine's strategy failed us. I began to doubt. He shifts slightly. The generators are unused, abandoned, their purpose forgotten. Though the people of this city will swear by our name and our terrors, are fresh in their nightmares despite the passage of centuries. They have forgotten the means of their salvation. This one beside me no longer functions, but one of the others is buried in the ground not far from here and has not yet failed. It powers the clock around, which those ridiculous fools prance. But yeah, you play as the last cast-off, and the setting takes place, I think it's like 1 billion years into the future.
All right.
The Numenera setting is basically that 8 civilizations have risen and fallen, and you're living on like the backs of that. That's why there's high tech just strewn all over the entire world, and nobody knows what it does. And
I'm going.
there's a guy called the Changing God who is basically a scientist or whatever, and he figured out how to transfer his conscience from body to body, and he keeps building bodies
Really? Here's a tip then.
for whatever purpose. And whenever he changes body, that body starts creating its own consciousness, basically. And you are the last body he used. And that's kind of where the game starts. A bit overdone, yeah, but you kind of have to do something like that. Like if you want to make a hyper advanced super future, it's a better decision to go like super far into the future, because then you don't have to write it like sci-fi. You can write it like fantasy instead. So you don't really have to make or you don't have to be, things don't have to make too much sense with, you know, science. Because I've been toying with something like that too, but if you don't go far enough, then it becomes really hard to write things that kind of make sense. Because like even if you go like 10,000 years into the future, how do you write that? It's just so impossible to even consider where we would be at that point, or how anything would work, or like but at the same time it doesn't feel like it's far away enough to just abandon the science of the fiction. Oh, yeah, I was gonna go and click that thing here.
Yes.
The machine towers above you like a dagger driven into the ground by a giant. It seems much older than the surrounding buildings. Your hands itch to touch the array of dark panels scattered around the machine, as though they have touched them before. Examine the device. A tangle of mismatched parts make up this once functional generator. Once again you notice the Cercinet symbols etched into the side like a maker's mark. Let's go and see if we can find more of these. I think there's probably one in each section. Don't know if you can do anything with them. I don't think so. We have one here. Looked like it.
Yes.
Yeah, there's one. The power still flows through this ancient machine, A brassy heartbeat pulses within it, just at the edge of hearing, and tiny bubbles orbit the entire structure. No, not bubbles. Holes in space. Examine the device. The generator combines a huge number of mismatched parts into a functional whole. Once again, you notice the Cersonet symbols etched into the side like a maker's mark. Look through the orbiting holes in space. A sizzling beam shoots out of the hole and strikes you dead in the eye. It doesn't hurt in the slightest. Instead, your mind is briefly filled with the mouth-watering image of a slab of grilled something and the chummy tones of an advertiser's sales pitch in a language you don't recognize. Okay, look through the holes in space again. For the moment, nothing lies beyond the tiny holes but utter darkness. Okay, that's weird. Towering above you is an enormous archway of metal and synth. Energy pulses through the structure, spilling from thin, transparent panels in subtle shades of golden cyan. Examine the archway more closely. It appears to be dormant, but very much alive. The archway emits a low and constant hum, just at the edge of your hearing. Across the top, illuminated words are inscribed. The House of Empty Time. Heavy rope-like cables connect the archway to the strange generator nearby. The workmanship of this device is quite different from that of the generator. If the generator bears the mark of a brilliant mind, connecting technologies in weird and unexpected ways, this archway is merely clever, like a gifted student imitating the work of a master. You suspect that it owes much of its functionality to the generator from which it draws its power. It also appears to be a more recent construction. Try to activate the archway. You scan the parts of the arch that are accessible from the ground, but you don't see anything that resembles a control device. Finally, you give up your search. If the arch can be activated at all, the method is unclear. Perhaps it could only be activated by the words of its creator, or someone designated by that person. Such things are not unknown in the Ninth World. Okay. That's plot speak for it can only happen at a certain point in the story. Okay, so next one should be over here then. I think I already interacted with it, but we need to go here. Oh no, no, not here. I haven't used this one, if there is one here. We do have a quest here too. Not there. There.
You think that's best?
Done.
Dear, you really should try for a more elegant pastime. Revenge is so old-fashioned.
Oh, yes? And what do you live for?
Far more than a petty squabble over some relic of my past, I assure you.
Doesn't seem to be one here. Hello there, Quijano del Toboso. This scrawny old man practically rattles inside dull and dented armor that was clearly made for someone bigger than him. And nonetheless, his eyes burn with a bottomless fire, and his smile, as fierce as it is genuine, flashes beneath his graying thicket of a beard. Another night, he bellows, clapping your shoulders with his gauntleted hands. You barely keep your feet. The man is stronger than he looks. Another hero in search of great adventure. You stand before the wandering knight Quijano del Toboso. What brings you to the summit of Mount Ithiador? He is armed like a knight, though he carries himself strangely. Why did you call this Mount Ithiador? It's a city, not a mountain. A city, he says, his sweat-beaded brow drawing together. Your senses must have deserted you in the ascent. The heat has baked you in your armor. He lays a gentle hand on your shoulder, turning you to the horizon. Do not allow delirium to blind you to your accomplishments, good night. You have scaled the very heights of Mount Athiador, the tooth of the world beast. Adventure lies in every shadow below us. Every sparkle of light is a quest ready for the taking. What brings you up here? Do you know, he says, that I am not quite sure. My memory is not what it was. I recall kneeling before my family's armor in our estate some time ago. He blinks slowly. Perhaps I was weeping. He smashes his gauntlet against his chest, leaving a sizable dent. I can't recall, and it doesn't matter. For then I heard a thunderous roar and beheld a great beast in the skies. I donned my armor and gave chase. Your armor looked slightly used. Yes, he says, nodding proudly. It has seen some use. My ancestor forged it in the fires of Silver Cloud Mountain for her battle against the Ziriquand hordes. This was the wound that killed her. He taps a much-mended spot on the chest plate. In fact, many of my ancestors died in this armor. It served them well. What kind of beast was it? It defied description, he declares, and so I shall describe it to defy impossibility itself. 13 legs, 6 jaws, 1,000 eyes, a glitter with malice and flame, scales the color of clouds. Alright, go on. The horrible beast leered down at me, promising destruction. I promised it death, and it fled across the sky. I followed, darting between the trees. He pauses, frowning. And I don't recall much after that. I remember walking, having various adventures along the way. Of course, but I cannot quite recall why I came here. Ah, he says, raising a finger. Of course, I must have had the frankly brilliant notion of scaling this lonely mountain to better spot the beast from afar. He shakes his head, his wispy beard waggling. Alas, I've seen nothing so far. Your beast sounds like a particularly large cloud, and I'm pretty sure you ran into a tree. A cloud, he says, chuckling. A tree. The perils facing us in this world of wonders are not so mundane. Others once spoke like him. I wish I could have saved them from the beast. You said you're looking for a great adventure. Yes, but I feel I must speak plainly, he says, plucking at his beard. Too many people have mistaken me for a common mercenary. He straightens. I am not interested in entangling myself in local quarrels. I will not hunt a beast that cannot hunt me in return, and if I am to fight, it must be against a foe of such wickedness that the stars themselves would wink out, rather than shine upon a world that could harbor such malevolent creatures. The children of the Endless Gate slaughtered innocents in the underbelly. Will you hunt them down? I've heard of these scoundrels, he says. They leave pools of blood and shredded flesh in their wake. You are right, my friend. This world cannot bear the blight of these villains upon her skin any longer. Simply say the word, and I shall hunt them unto my dying breath. I don't really care, but... Yes, good hunting, Quijano del Toboso. Excited humming. Okay, goodbye. I'm stuck behind this guy. And he goes. We just sent a demented guy to kill some people that we barely know. I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be fine. This one I've already used as well. Dull light gleams on the edges of the rusty monolith. Examine the device again. Yeah, no. I don't seem to be able to do anything with those. At least not yet, I guess. Oh, we can talk to her again. Maybe she's normal now. She embraces you as fiercely as a child, then blushes and pulls away. She's gone! That damned woman in my head is gone, and my memories are coming back. What did you do? A machine under the city was the source of the voices. I turned it off. No, she breathes, pale and delighted. I thought it was a dream, but I saw you. You went into a hole in the ground, and I heard the sound of gears grinding down. She clasps your wrist with cold hands. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can almost remember my name now. You're welcome to. Should talk to the other women too. The ghost woman.
Of course we can help. Right, Al?
Ghost woman is just gone.
Consider it done.
But down here, this was why we came here. Down here. Song today? Let me ask you something. Alright, do you feel the same way Zeb does about the Stitches? The poor thing, we're all taking care of it. The other Stitcha abandoned it, so now it has no family except us. She leans in. Please don't tell anyone about it. Zeb would die if anything happened to it. The boy salutes you as you approach. Good to see you again, sir. How can I help you? Can you tell me anything else about the area? No.
Yes.
Eggs. The Stitches is still cowering in the trash. It watches you fearfully. Not hurt, only hide. Tell me again why you're up here. I don't want to attack it, but I don't know how to help it.
I'm going.
He smiles as you approach him again. Ah, the likely one is back, and you've returned a hero. I heard you dealt with the Stitcha. Fine work. He shakes his head. Sadly, the rogue Stitches we have been hunting here is still at large. I don't suppose you've spotted it. I spoke to the Stitches. It said you captured it and left it in Cliff's Edge. He laughs. Preposterous. It's lying to you. Why would I do such a thing? And if you spoke to the creature, does that mean you know where it is? What proof has he of this? None. No one can speak to a Stitches. I'm starting to think you brought the Stitches to Cliff's Edge to give the people an enemy to hate. He smiles. To wake this city up, I might do something very much like that. Not that I did this time, mind you, but I admit it is an appealing idea. His heart's in the right place, but he's not as clever as I would hope. I found the Stitches, but it's harmless. It has deformed claws. It can't dig. We should let it go. He raises an eyebrow. Harmless? I'll be the judge of that. Where is it? You notice that Lord Vuntgren doesn't seem very surprised to learn of the Stitches' deformity. It's as if he already knew. I'm not telling you where it is, you'll kill it. What kind of monster do you think I am? I merely want to see justice done. Sorry, I don't trust your sense of justice. Then get out of here before I tell these good people whose side you're on, traitor. You make me sick. I failed to convince the Stitcha to sneak it out. How the hell else am I supposed to sneak it out? Maybe the kids has some idea now. This woman glares at the air above her head, her fingers fretting with a single bead in a long, peculiar chain of them. Her low, angry muttering resolves into words as you get closer. Foolish boy, shivering at the crossroads, mazed by your choices. Go on and pick beauty, pick strength, pick pleasure, whatever that may be. The particulars don't matter, boy. What matters is the choosing. Oh. AMD installer? Yeah, that's what I want. What matters is the choosing and that you do it. The particulars matter quite a bit, I'd say. She blinks at the empty air and her hands steal to a metallic, many-faceted bead near the end of the chain. I would, she says, sighing, and it's serving you just as well as him. Mother Tamaz knows you, lad. Born falling you were, born in flame, shreds of your smoldering coal streaming through the air. When you struck ground, your bead first went cold, then hotter than a mother's hatred. She shakes her head and spits at her feet. Scarcely born you are and learning quick, but you're still uncertain. All boys and girls are until they start making choices and dealing with the consequences, until they accept the cost of being adults. My call. Aye, you fell from the blue womb of the sky, and your speed set the call around you alight, scattering flaming bits across the city. I snatched one for myself, still have it in fact. She sighs. You're confused, but that'll change. You'll have your feet under you soon enough. Not all of my children are as lucky.
I'll remember that.
This one, she says, showing you the bead she was speaking to before you arrived. It's carved in the shape of a malformed ring. Pico wants to escape his past. He saved a handful of shins by honest means. That is to say, it's taken him a long time, and he's too busy pissing over the options to spend it. Her fingers fold over the bead. Push him into choosing a path, lad. Do that, and I'll return your call to you. Improved through my art and stronger than when you lost it. How should I help Pico? You haven't been listening, lad. Don't help him. Convince him to help himself. Mother Tamaz shakes her head. Agonizing over a choice is foolishness. Every choice will bite you, lad. Life is building a collection of mistakes all your own. Where can I find him? He's... Mother Tamaz trails off, closing her hand around her beads, staring into space. In Cliff's Edge. I'll do what I can to help him. Farewell. Yes, over here.
You're sure it's safe?
The mutant boy gazes at the entrance to the chirurgical parlor, flinching at each scratch of razor metal on metal from within. By your estimation, he is in his late teens, but is the size of a young, malnourished child. His arms are little more than bone, wrapped in red speckled skin, and a raw line zigzags down his mismatched eyes and over his blade of a nose, as if pointing directly at his thin lips. He sees you looking, and bird-like muscles flex in his frail jaw. Get a good look, he says, lifting his chin. Or maybe you want to call me some names. I hear eggshell a lot, or maybe lightning bolt. I get that one from time to time. He crosses his bony arms and glares at you. Don't let me stop you. Call me some names. Laugh. Do it now, because in another few minutes, I'll be the one laughing. Are you threatening me? What? Pico says, gaping. Then he waves his twig-like arms like he's trying to take flight. Look at me. I'd have to be an idiot to threaten you. That's not what I meant. I'm not going to be the butt of everyone's jokes anymore, he says, Electricity sizzles within the nearby parlor. This time he does not flinch away. Lighting flickers, trapped in his determined eyes. I have some money, all right. I'm going to use it to change myself. Change everything I can. He trails off, studying you in turn. His eyes widen and he glances quickly away, studying the nearby parlor instead. Is he the guy who... Could be a sign. What sort of changes are you considering? What do you care, he says. I'm sure you have business somewhere in the city. I don't want to be any trouble. Why did you look at me strangely earlier? His mouth trembles as though he's wrestling with a question he doesn't want to ask. Doesn't feel good to be stared at, does it? He says at last, looking back at the parlor. He seems to be deflecting your question, though it isn't clear why. He's forgotten me. Doesn't matter. His words to me then mean the same to me now. Can everyone buy improvements from the parlor? Yes, he says. You pay the keeper and the drones remake your body the way you want. Mother Tomas sent me. I want to help. I wanted to avoid saying this, but I guess that's what you have to do. Oh, he says, blushing. She knows. Of course she knows. And that means you know too. He chews his lip. Fine. I am scared, all right. I've had this ugly face, this body my entire life. I have saved up to change myself, my future. Maybe I can become strong enough to deal with the people who hurt me. Or maybe I fix my face. It can do that, but then I'll still be small. Despite the anger in his voice, tears are shining at the corners of his eyes. I can only use the machine in the parlor once, understand? It's too expensive. I spent years saving up all this money, and it's not enough to fix me. He opens his pouch to display a moderately impressive collection of coins. Before I say anything, I want to ask you some questions. All right, he scratches his hairless cheek. I want to know about your past. You already know everything important, he says. He isn't making eye contact. I don't care about where I came from, all right? The future is what matters. I can't help you make the best decision if you don't tell me about yourself. 75%. 95%. 95%. 100%. Let's go with 95%. No. 100%.
Making a note.
Fine. Pico groans. You asked, remember? He covers his eyes and begins speaking as fast as he can. My parents came to the city with a tribe of people like me. I was born in the underbelly. My first memory is of someone spitting on me. My only friend was a girl named Crooked Keek, and we had to play in an alley so the normal kids wouldn't hurt us. When I was 12, someone killed my father in a bar, and it wasn't even investigated. He blinks hard, staring at the parlor. So I left, and I haven't seen anyone from the tribe since. Let them live off scraps in the dark. I'd rather die up here than down there. How did you earn your money? A shin at a time, Pico says proudly. I went from shop to shop asking for work. Some of them kicked me out, but others let me sweep once a week, or cook. I've done nearly every job in the city at least once. The smile drops off his face. No one ever wanted me to stay, though. They thought I scared customers off. His mouth twists. They were probably right. I'm done asking about your past. That wasn't a lot. I want to help you decide what to do with that money. Use the parlor to become so strong that no one will ever bully you again.
Making a note.
He blinks, startled by the authority in your voice. Then, a smile spreads across his face, so tentatively that it seems to be testing his face to make sure it will hold the weight. I knew it was him. That's just like what he said years ago. That's it, isn't it, he says. I can scare off the people who tease me or throw rocks. I can take different kinds of work, earn money faster, and come back here again. That's it, he says, nodding. Thank you. That does not feel like the good choice, but... Oh shit, he got big as hell. This feels even better than I dreamed.
Of course.
But that was kind of what I was role-playing. And I got like all of the upgrades there. Almost. If anything, her angry muttering has intensified. She drags the chain of beads between her knuckles, staring into space. What now, my lad? She says. I need to talk to you about Pico. I? What of him? I've solved his problem. Have you? Mother Tomas's eyes unfocus and her fingers trace the borders of the hollow bead. Mayhap you did, she says at last. A strong lad can solve most of the problems that come his way, until his strength fails him, that is. She shakes her head. I know you did what you thought was right, but we know that life is more than one choice, don't we? And now he'll make the next one on his own, mayhap. She roots about in a saddlebag, hanging at her hip. Take the call, lad. You earned it.
Making a note.
Off with you. You've done enough here. Only usable by the last cast-off. +2 might pool. Offhand. I don't want to have a shield equipped. I don't even want to have a weapon equipped. There's like no penalty to having it there, so there's no reason to not equip it. Oh, she also gets this. I guess. Wait, no. No, she just gets the negative one. Well, whatever. We got a level? Ability or skill? Perception. Deception. Entropic field. I mean, we might as well do that. Because the more hit chance we have on this, the less intelligence she has to use to attack. And if she can get maximum hit chance without with just her edge, that would be pretty strong. Increase edge, yeah, that's the most important. More speed.
Tell me, Matkina, what do you do for fun? To relax?
I meditate. A well-honed mind is as good a weapon as any blade.
At last, something we can agree on.
Let's talk about your family again. Can't ask them about the Stitcher. How am I supposed to get it out of here? Can I ask you some questions? Hmm. Can't get him out like that.
Learning begets doing. Or is it the other way?
The problem with this is that I would have to get heavy to use this. I don't really want to, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. This one too can go. The rest I want to keep. Okay, now we have some healing items, so we can put them on the other characters. Everybody has some for an emergency. See if we can talk to this teacher again. I think it's over though. I don't think we can convince him of anything.
Of course we can help. Right, Al?
Can you tell me more about this teacher? No. No. He doesn't want to.
I'm ready.
I want to learn how to eat flesh for memories. I don't know if you can get them to teach you that. Good news, he says, flinging his scrawny arms wide. Folsom's people burst in here not long ago and hauled your suspect away. Justice has been done, I hope. He squints at you, a sliver of sorrow in his eyes. I do hope you were certain that you didn't just guess. I have some more questions about the Dendra O'Hur. I want to talk about something else. I've changed my mind. Go ahead and kill me and eat my flesh. How kind of you, he says, and motions you towards a nearby bier. You try to make yourself comfortable. Imbitu and his followers lean over you in well-orchestrated unison, cutting slits in your flesh. Hoses dangle from their wrists, leading into their suits. They snake, seemingly of their own accord, into your incisions. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, you hear a faint whirring, as spinning blades grind your organs and suck the pulp up through the hoses. Someone is screaming, and you have a fairly good idea who. Eventually, mercifully, you die. I permanently lost 2 health? Oh shit. After an indefinite amount of time, you open your eyes. Imbitu stands beside you, fiddling with his knuckles. Ah, he says, raising his hands. Welcome back. What an exquisite experience that was, though I am certain you don't need to hear about it while you're waking up. He beams. At any rate, I took the liberty of adding a token of our gratitude to your belongings. Do come speak to me whenever you're ready to discuss what we learned from our little feast. Viscera Sprig, or Ornament Artifact. When hit with a melee attack, deals 1 relativistic, ignores resistance damage, and confers bleeding to attackers, 2 physical damage per turn. Active 3 rounds. Okay. Good news, he says, flinging his scrawny arms wide. Folsom's people, yeah. What did you learn from eating my flesh? Quite a bit, he says, cheerily, then grimaces. Too much, in fact. Your immortal flesh proved slightly too rich for some of my children. He pats his belly. I have quite a bit more experience and fortitude than them, however. For me, it's merely overwhelming rather than explosive. I shall endeavor to tell you what I have learned, but I fear I may not be as clear as you would hope. It always takes a while to digest. He stifles a giggle. The information contained in just one life. Your bad body contained countless wonders. We will be decades absorbing them all. He sighs. In other words, my interpretation may sound somewhat unfinished, unclear, mystical. He pronounces the last word with distaste. But I would happily share these visions with you. Merely ask. Share a vision with me. Of course, he says. He closes his eyes, teetering gently. He draws a long, smooth breath. He hates the bed, this prison that holds her. He growls, and the voice is scarcely his own. His cheerful brow contorts. He swears words in tearful haste, and wears them like jewels in a crown for centuries, even long after they have lost their luster and their purpose. Imbitu opens his eyes, beaming. Didn't hear a word of it, he says, but it felt fascinating. I hope it was helpful, and do come back if you want to hear more. Share another vision with me. He regrets the first one he leaves behind, the next less so. Soon they are falling like leaves to be crunched underfoot, and by then he has begun telling himself it is not only necessary, but good. That is all for now, I'm afraid. Share another vision with me. Each year brings him closer to his goals. Each year brings him closer to him, her of the long arms and the bruised blood, her that loved the tides first and holds dominion over them, her that hollows, burns, and kills. He absent-mindedly wipes a line of sweat from his withered forehead. Her breath is on your neck, the long race is done, and you have lost. Imbitu's eyes pop open. Was it of any help? It certainly felt dire. I do hope it wasn't bad news. His eyes flutter for a moment. I'm afraid that the visions get rather more fragmented from here. Share another vision with me. Doors. 3 doors. All of them belong to your greatest enemies. Share another vision with me. Gather the ones he scattered. Gather the seeds and the husks. Share another vision with me. You will never see every level of the labyrinth, and that is good. Share another vision with me. His eyes open again. That's it. Everything else is a muddle for now. Can you come back in, say, a year or so? Farewell. What do you want, Shulmeat? Why did you join the Dendra O'Hare? I used to do work for Folsom, he says with a grimace. Muscle work, you know. Money was good, but Folsom kept giving me little jobs, giving the best stuff to his protégés. He curls his lip. Then I saw the Dendra O'Hare, saw the way people respect them, even if you could break most of them in half with 2 hands. I thought that maybe there was room for a man to grow here. He grins. I was right. He gives you an appraising eye. You know how it is, I can tell. Respect is good, right? But fear is better. and even Folsom's people fear me now. She doesn't spare words on you this time. She merely nods, her wary gaze cataloging the position of everyone in the room. You seem unhappy here. No one asks what you think, she snaps. Leave me alone. Then she chuckles. It's not a happy sound. I'm being selfish, aren't I? Let us eat you. Let us into your head. You don't deserve the edge of my tongue for asking if I'm all right. She rubs an eye with the heel of her hand. Fine. I am not happy here. I want to go. Satisfied? You look like a ghostly woman I saw in the fifth eye. Probably look like a lot of people, she says, an edge in her voice. So what? I know her. I hate her. Farewell.
It is done.
Maybe we can talk to the Master of Levies and just have her escort us each our way.
Of course we can help. Right, Al?
Yes.
I'm not really sure what to do about it. It feels like that kind of thing where you just have to stumble across a dialogue choice that lets you
Right,
do
Al?
something. Why don't you send any levies to Cliff's Edge? A lot of homes have been collapsing and the city hasn't been able to help. Her tone is cautiously neutral. The council believes that the presence of levies could incite them to violence. It's the Memovira. The council's giving her free rein outside the bloom as well. Okay. Not really here either. Cloak that gives resistance. I think I've ever equipped this. Looks like shit. Wonder what happens if you wear light armor. This looks like just better armor, so... Because this is heavy armor, and it has a cost. It says there. -6 might, -6 speed, -30% on esoteric attacks. That is insane. And medium armor has -3 and -15. So yeah, we can wear light armor. And this is just better, so... Let's buy that. It looks like shit though. Holy crap, it's so ugly.
Traveling with you is like being part of a circus.
Yeah, you wanna wear my entrails as a ring?
Exactly the kind of people I'm trying to avoid.
I'm going. I'm going.
Maybe these guys can help? Do you have any supplies to share? It is our great honor to provide our wares to you, Holy One. But we are a small group and not wealthy. We exist on small donations, curios, and the occasional great gift from one of your children, such as weapons from the Chalcedon. As much as we would love to gift these to you, we simply cannot afford to do so. However, because it is you, we will not ask for much in return. +1 training level to deception and +2 damage on esoteric attacks. Another good one. As well buy all of these. We have them in a pinch.
Doing begets learning, I guess.
Yes.
What we can do is we know that this person up here is
Go.
spy, and I don't know how it matters at all.
Let's go.
Rubbing his temples with grease-stained fingers, the tall priest nods at you. Can you tell me about your work? Heh, he says, shaking his head. That's a big question even on the best days. I specialize in mechanical Numenera, intelligent or not, but I haven't had much time for research since I started managing our branch in the Order. Can I ask you some questions about mechanical Numenera? I would be incredibly grateful if you did, he says. Every other conversation I have revolves around how I'm running the Order, or not doing enough to save the Order. He rubs his forehead with the back of his calloused hand. Please, ask me about wires and blinking lights. Okay, we've already asked about that apparently. What is the Order of Truth? Good question. He chews his lip for a moment, framing his words. We live on the surface of a vast labyrinth of layered ruins, packed with relics and artifacts, windows into the past. Some people are content to find them, use them and sell them. He grins. But not the Order of Truth, not the Aeon Priests. We want to understand the Numenera, study them, point at them and argue about them. Now in the West, the Order of Truth is much bigger than this little enclave. It's a vast organization, led by the Amber Pope. Out there, our words turn the heads of kings. He shrugs. Around here, we occasionally get discounts on equipment from local vendors, and a free cup of tea. Not that I'm complaining. How did a chapter of the Order of Truth end up out here? It was founded 300 years ago by a Bargellan nano named Diviatichu. I still don't know how to pronounce that. That's his statue outside. He governed, or you could say ruled, the Order with more force than you see in traditional chapters. He set us up in this spire, hand-picked new members and chose them for particular projects of his design. We're not quite that organized these days, he says, shrugging. For better or worse, leaders are chosen by consent of the other priests and priestesses, and they don't have a say in what everyone works on. They just deal with the politics and the paperwork so that everyone else can focus on their ruinous side projects and hideously dangerous experiments. He flashes a grin, which is to say, I'm the leader because I'm the only one who admits we need to eat. Leadership is a lonely path. I wish that were true, he says. I'm rarely lonely. People visit me all the time, usually furious and waving their hands. He sighs. But someone has to deal with the world outside these walls. The slave families, for some reason, aren't interested in funding wild, endless experimentation. They like results, especially weaponizable ones. So I review their requests, deflect the crazier ones, and convince my colleagues to work for a living occasionally. He nods at the nearby machine. We also create the levies that guard the city. Though that's seen more as a responsibility than a favor these days. Good to see Sagus makes scholars live in the real world. I agree with you on some days. Others, I'd rather be chasing a crazy theory, he shrugs. What else do you want to know about the Order? How long have you been in this spire? Well, it's not actually a building, first of all, he says, grinning, and neither is the Council Tower. Take a closer look when you get a chance. They're ships. We think they were used to explore the void between the stars long before Sagus was founded. He rubs his chin. They may be millions of years old, in fact. Now, of course, they're almost completely sealed in rock. The only other parts you can see up close are the engines, down in the underbelly. The city uses them as forge fires and energy sources. He raises a finger. Actually, that's not the only part. We use some of the lower decks for storage but you can't see those. He makes a serious face. Very secret. I saw Didia teach you inside the clock in Circus Minor. Your founder was the changing god, or a cast-off. Min squints at you, then the ceiling. It's possible, he says at last. Didia Tichu's behavior matches the stories I've heard about the changing god, but he hasn't exactly shown up here to pick up where he left off. He shrugs. If you're right, maybe he just lost interest. Are there lots of Eon priests in Sagus Cliffs? Yes, but they're not strictly here, he says. Some are out on digs or various expeditions. We only have a few Eon priests in the city right now. There's Salimeri, who I mentioned before. Beliazar studies biomechanical lifeforms. Orth Fong is an expert in inexplicable and malicious architecture, and should be back soon. He pauses, ticking his fingers and furrowing his brow. And Sun Earth, of course. A visitant who's developed an interest in all forms of reproduction. It isn't one of us, and I don't think it wants to be, but we gave it space to work on its projects. He leans in. Don't go over there unless you invented a way to scrub your memory clean. Also, Lan Muring, of course. He's been educated in the Order, but he's still looking for a discovery that will make him an Eon priest. Alright, let's go and talk to him about being a spy. He rubs the ovoid implant on his forehead with his thumb, thinking. It takes him a few moments to realize you're there. Oh, hello. I know you're a spy for the Memovira. How did you... He begins, clutching at his trembling fingers. No, it doesn't matter. It's true, but it's not what you think. He sweeps the room with a terrified look and continues in a whisper. I needed money for my work. The Order doesn't pay for anything besides basic living expenses. One of the Memovira's people came to me and offered me money for a favor. I took it. Of course I did. But then they found me the next time. They didn't want me to make or study anything. They wanted me to spy on the Order. His lip trembles. I said no, and they hit me over and over, and every time I woke up they hit me again. They beat me until I said yes. You're a coward. The Order is suffering because of you. I know, he says, but they told me that if I don't tell them everything I overhear, they'll kill me. I don't deserve to be a priest, he says, gripping his knuckles until they show white through his fingers. But I've worked so hard. Please don't tell Min what I've done. I have some more questions about the Memovira. Please, keep your voice down, he hisses. Have you met her in person? Only the first time, he says, closing his eyes. I hope it's the last. You hear things about life in the Bloom, how ruthless the people living there are. He swallows. She's worse than anything you can imagine. What is the Bloom? He falters for a moment, his pleasure at sharing information that fascinates him at war with his fear of the topic at hand. A city-sized predator near Sega's cliffs that people live inside. Bad things happen there, and the Memovira is usually behind most of them. He shudders. You don't want to cross her. Tell me why you think she's ruthless. It's not what I think. It's not a theory. I've seen her at work. He covers his eyes like a child. When I met her, there was a man chained to a table between us. One of her torturers, I suppose, was working on him, peeling his skin away strip by strip. He screamed and screamed, but... He rubs his eyes. She waited for the silence between the screams. She never raised her voice, and she never explained what the man had done to disappoint her. I think she had just decided to combine two appointments, mine and his. Why do you think her people came after you? It's not just me, he says. I'm nothing special. She wants control over everyone. He grits his teeth. I was just an easier target. His eyes move from you to Matkina. I know who you are, of course. She's still looking for you. I'll have to tell her. Tell her. Go ahead, Matkina says lazily. I've been planning to pay her a visit. Okay. Who or what is the Memovira? She gives you a long, strange look. Is your age catching up with you, Adon? She says at last. She's a crime lord. She rules the Bloom. Any of this tinkling any bells? She massages her eyes with her fingers. I'm going to assume you have other things on your perfectly healthy mind. It spares me from asking any probing questions that would simply embarrass us both.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna end up having to
Yes.
Google how to save this teacher if they're not gonna show me anything. Nobody to ask about it.
Let's go all, you and me.
Two silver humanoids stand near a small vehicle of indeterminate origin. Their skin has a reflective metallic sheen that makes them appear both a part of and separate from the scenery around them. As you approach, both of them turn to face you. They have no mouths, and their eyes are a fathomless black, reflecting nothing. A name for the creatures rises from your memory. Silver Orphans. It may not be the name by which they know themselves, but it's the name used by the Order of Truth. The silver orphans turn to stare at each other for several moments. Then the one on the right gestures at you in a complicated pattern. Minds of machines we seek. Know you any? Although you can't understand their gestures, you can hear their thoughts. Why do you seek the minds of machines? They stare at you impassively as though they can't hear you at all. The one on the left kneels, using a foreshortened finger to trace lines, and circles in the dust at your feet. Ripples radiate from a point, first a square, then a human eye, then an unrecognizable mass of interconnected dots. The silver orphan looks up at you, awaiting your reply. Any minds of machines, that we may find that which was lost. Tell the orphans about the foreman in the underbelly. You sketch an approximation of the city's manufactory, including rough depictions of the foreman, careful to indicate how they tower over the human workers. Then you draw a line connecting them to the orphan's symbol for machine intelligences. The silver orphans watch you intently until your drawing is complete. They turn to stare at each other. Then the one on the right reaches inside itself, its silver hand merging seamlessly with the glistening metal of its torso. An instant later, its hand is whole again, holding an object of peculiar construction. It drops the item into your hand. Payment, you assume? Glorious! We thank you. Take reward for service. Thermodynamic detonation. All in immediate area. Those are so hard to use, you basically have to run away from your entire party. Tell the orphans about Sylph. You draw a crude approximation of Sylph next to the orphan's image, still visible in the dust. It might be your imagination, but when you finish the drawing, the orphans seem pleased. The orphan on the right reaches inside itself again, drawing out another object that drops into your waiting hand. A stillness cage. When a living animal is placed inside this bird cage, the device automatically activates, putting the creature into stasis. Theoretically, it could preserve a living being indefinitely, though the cage's size limits this to very small creatures. This cage is inactive and you do not have the means to reactivate it. A century ago, the elite of Harif prized stillness cages to preserve their outrageously expensive pets, until they discovered that the stasis warped their animals' minds, turning the creatures savage when they emerged from a cage. Tell the orphans about the peerless drones. You draw an approximation of the reef of fallen worlds, indicating the location where you met the peerless drones with an X and copying the orphan's original drawing next to it. The one on the left crouches and adds a few quick strokes that you take to be a query for further information. One mind or many. After some thought, you draw one of the drones you encountered, then some more beside it for good measure, linking them all together in an attempt to indicate their connection to one another. The orphan on the right likewise crouches and stops your hands before turning to face its twin. Many, peerless. Long moments pass before they look back at you in unison. Then they each reach inside themselves, withdrawing parts of an unidentifiable object. They fit the parts together, handing you a complete but curious Numenera, the likes of which you've never seen. You have the feeling they're very pleased to have this particular intelligence reported to them. Conduit rings. Energize. Choose a damage type. Confer Energize. All damage dealt is converted to the chosen type. I'll let you know if I find any machine intelligences.
Doing begets learning, I guess.
A woman as tall and graceful as a willow steps forward to greet you. She bows, then looks down at you with warm, gold-flecked eyes. Welcome, she says, to Tranquility's Rest. I am the proprietress, Tranquility. Are you looking for a place to take your ease? As she speaks, a sense of delicious calm comes over you, and you find yourself wanting to agree with her. There is nothing you'd like better right now than the peace and solitude of a quiet room. In fact, the feeling of calm you feel in her presence is so strong you wonder if it's entirely natural. That's when you notice Tranquility's soothing scent. It must be more than perfume, perhaps a pheromone of some sort. And her voice, too, is soothing. It is low and rich, and she appears to be modulating it in some way. The technique is subtle, but the effect is profound, calming you and making you feel a little sleepy. Your perfume seems to contain some kind of pheromones. Are you manipulating me? She smiles faintly. If calming can be said to be manipulating, I suppose I am. But it is nothing more than that. I cannot control minds or influence thoughts. My scent seems to relax people. That and another trick I learned convinced me that opening a hostel might lead to success. You're using your tone of voice to calm me. Is that something you learned? She raises her eyebrows. Very few people notice that. Well done. I am indeed manipulating my voice. When I opened this place, I wanted to make it the most relaxing hostel in the Ninth World, and I worked to make every aspect of it soothing, even my voice. It turned out I had a talent for it. Forgive me for asking, but are you human? She laughs melodiously. No need for apologies. Given my height, it is a natural question. I am indeed human. A human mutant, and fortunate to live in Sega's cliffs, where that is not a crime. There are very few places in this world where someone like me would even be allowed to clean a hostel, let alone own one. Tell me about Tranquility's Rest. She smiles. It's the most peaceful inn in Sega's cliffs, with the most beautiful views. All rooms face outward, so that the bustle of the caravanserai is invisible and inaudible. All you see is sky and sea and the roofs of the city far below you, and all you hear is the breeze. I am the sole owner, and I have been offering solitude, security and discretion to travelers for 20 years. You will never have a night's sleep as you will when you stay here. I found a device that reveals what happened in the past. I saw you talking to a woman called Persea. Where did she go? Tranquility hangs her head, hiding some emotion. I did help Persea find a ship, but I do not wish to tell you where it was found. Perhaps if I tell you her story, you will understand why.
Making a note.
Omadon may believe her to be his one true love, but it is obsession, not love, and it has made a monster of him. She sighs. From what Persea told me, he found her corpse in a sepulchre in the Valley of Dead Heroes, perfectly preserved by ancient science, and fell in love with her beauty. His foolishness might have ended there, except that Omadon had ancient science of his own, and he used it to wake her from death. He seemed to think this unasked-for resurrection would make him a hero in her eyes, and that she would fall instantly in love with him. But she was unnerved by his fervor. She explained that she did not share his feelings. He wouldn't listen. He saw her disgust as a passing madness. Persea has fled from him ever since, but he is relentless. She looks up. Do you see now why I helped her? Why I lied to him and to you? Obsession is oft mistaken for love, and the beloved is simply a prize to be won. Yes, love can't be won through obligation. It must be given freely. She breathes a sigh of relief. I'm glad to hear you say that. What do you intend to do now? I want to convince Omadon to stop following Persea. A noble course of action, though not an easy one, I fear. I wish you good luck. Where is Persea actually going? I'm sorry. The less people who know that, the better. Fine. I want to rest, but I'm afraid of what's gonna happen. I don't think anything will happen now, though. I'd like a room for the night. Tranquility smiles. I am so pleased. I'm sure you will be most comfortable. The price is 20 shins per person. Oh, shit, dude.
All right.
Beside the bed is a handsome, well-made night table with a single drawer. A large, open book sits on top of it. Examine the book. The pages of the book are made of thick vellum, and it appears to be an atlas of the region. The book is open to a map that depicts the city of Sagus Cliffs, the Valley of Dead Heroes nearby, a range of mountains to the north labeled as the Ossiphagian Range, and a circular desert further to the east marked as the Lost Sea. A thin strip of fabric has been placed between the open pages. A second fabric strip marks another place in the book. Try to judge the age of the book. Based on the condition of its pages, you can guess that the book is about 20 years old. The vellum was probably made from the skin of a herd animal, and a young anine perhaps, or a gallon. Look for the names of nearby settlements. Besides Sagus Cliffs, you only see a few other cities and towns. In the center of the circular desert are a large blue dot labeled the Oasis of Embra Jolios, and a smaller dot immediately next to it, Jerboa. On the far side of the desert is another city, Harif. On one end of the Valley of Dead Heroes is a dot labeled the Necropolis. It's unclear whether this is a settlement or just a site of interest. Examine the page marked by the other fabric strip. You see another full-page map, this time representing a region called Augur Kala. It seems to be located somewhere in the northwest of Sagus Cliffs, and it's defined by a massive ring of mountains labeled as the Clock of Kala. The mountain range is so perfectly round that it was almost certainly engineered by artificial means in the distant past. Several cities and towns dot the landscape, but the largest and most prominent is named Sada Imidu. After a few moments, you turn back to the map of the Sagus Cliffs region. Examine the night table instead. The table is finely made and has a single drawer. Try to open the drawer. The drawer appears to be locked, but you can hear something rattling inside it. The noise is faint but constant, as if the object were alive. Pick the lock. Not Kina can pick the lock. After a bit of effort, you hear a satisfying click and the drawer opens soundlessly. Inside you find a small ornamental comb that looks like a jeweled insect. In fact, it is a jeweled insect, a biomechanical marvel that is very much alive. The pincers seek to fasten themselves upon locks of hair, and its wings allow it to hover around the wearer's head. Several strands of hair are still clutched in the comb's pincers. They are a vibrant purple. You feel like you've seen this style of biomechanical craftsmanship before. It is very, very old. Probably older than the Ninth World. The floating comb and the purple hair match Omadon's description of Persea. It seems likely that she stayed in this very room, and probably not long ago. Okay.
Let's go.
I want to go rest for free. I wouldn't mind getting our stats back. You can talk to Crooked Keek.
All right, here I go.
She looks up at you with a dazzling smile, but not fast enough to conceal the sorrow that was on her face before. What's new? Because you can convince Crooked Keek and Pico, or whatever his name was, to get together instead.
Honesty are our bonds.
Hmm.
Let's go.
The creature's claws left furious gouges in the fallen rocks and surrounding walls. You realize that it intentionally collapsed the tunnel. It wanted to die. Hmm.
I'm ready.
Let's take a look here. It's too weird. I don't know how to do this. Hmm. What can you do? And it's... One way is to go to the underbelly, convince Jakek to dig a tunnel. Yeah, we failed that. Get the Master Foreman to create an automaton out of the body of a dead Stitches. Use it to rescue the outcast. Wow, that is so far-fetched.
I think that's best.
I would never have figured that out. Let's talk business. I need to get to an underground location. Can you make me a digging device of some kind? Yes, the Master Foreman declares, glowing eyes scanning the ceiling. Stalkers, bring me the war machine casing from Z-19, the intelligence nexus from B-2, and the scouring claws for my personal collection. It lowers its eyes to you. Now, let's talk payment. Make sure you include the costs of repairing the damage done by unleashing an insane war machine with molten claws on the city, the distant artisan calls. Stalkers, stand by, the Master Foreman shouts. Artisan's not wrong, it says in a much lower voice. For once, that might be more construct than you need. Give me a moment. The eyes wink out for several seconds, engines embedded in the construct's chest drawer. Engines embedded in the construct's chest roar. Then the eyes reignite. Find me the intact corpse of a Stitches. We can reinforce the carapace and recover the spatial memory system if it's not too far gone. Should lead you straight to its lair, and since you're supplying the materials, I'll waive the costs. I found a Stitches corpse in a dead-end tunnel on the far side of the underbelly. Would that work for a digging construct? The construct's flickering eyes become a bonfire. Fetchers, it roars. Artificers! Report to supervisor for a new project. Hours later, the workers trudge back. The supervisor makes a complicated hand sign to the Master Foreman. You'll find the construct where you left it, ready for use. The construct grumbles. I should have asked you for pay after all, supervisor says. It's a masterpiece. Its eyes dim as it descends into deeper thought. But no, a deal is a deal. Farewell. So, over here? Yeah.
Let's go.
The animated corpse of the Stitches you unearthed towers above you, waiting for your commands. Wave your hand in the creature's eyes to see if there's any reaction. The thing's pupils blaze brighter at the passage of your hand, but that's the extent of its response. Examine the automaton. It isn't difficult spotting the additions that the Master Foreman's workers have made. Opalescent metal fills its wounds, and the mangled claw has been replaced with a mechanical one. Coils of ridged cables spring from patch to patch before plunging into its thorax. Some of its eyes have changed as well. Faint glowing lights blink from otherwise empty sockets. There's an outcast Stitches in the dump behind the fifth eye. I want you to dig a tunnel and bring it safely back here. The automaton regards you for a long moment. Its mechanical eye sockets flash in a cascade, up and down as if it cannot quite understand what you're asking it to do. Finally, it turns and burrows into the rock.
Updated my journal.
A short time later, the automaton returns, and the outcast Stitches is following close behind. The smaller creature scuttles a short way down the tunnel, edging past the automaton as quickly as it can. Okay.
Let's go all. You and me.
It's gone. I guess now we go and tell him that we helped him escape so he can get mad at us and we get XP.
Let's go all. You and me.
The Stitches has escaped. I set it free. His eyes bulge. What? And you dare show your face? You're a traitor to your own kind. If any more houses fall, it will be on your head. This is a tragedy, an outrage. I have half a mind to call the levies. Fantastic opportunity gone. Such a pity. Did he just say he helped the Stitches? What kind of cart arse would let a murdering bug go free? Go back to your nest, bug lover. Who chooses bugs over humans? No levels? Shit. Come on, dudes. Let's go talk to the kids. The boy jumps up as you approach. He's ecstatic. You got the Stitches away. Thank you, sir. We were so worried the locals were going to get him. I couldn't believe it when the ground opened and that weird Stitches took him below. I swear it sounded like it had gears and servos inside. He smiles. Maybe it took Mittens to join the order of outcast Stitcha and he'll finally be with his own kind. I did as I promised. You're carrying too many ciphers and have received a cipher sickness battle. Okay. And we appreciate it. He takes something from inside his shirt. It appears to be some sort of small device. Here, take this. I scrounged it a while back and never found a use for it, but you probably know all about these things. Charm paste. Confers charm paste. Plus 45% on persuasion tasks. Active until next sleep. Thank you.
Alright, here I go. You bet.
What petals do you get from having that anyway? -2 might pool. Ouch.
Yes.
Let's take a nap here. I'd like to sleep here. The footsteps of Balsam's messenger draws you from your sleep. Her clothes are disheveled, as though she was shoved from a comfortable bed to go looking for you. The big man wants to see you, she mumbles. There's been another murder and he's very unhappy? Looks like we hung the wrong cannibal, huh? She stumbles away, yawning. Glad I ain't him right now. What? Alright then. That's very surprising. I was quite sure that was the right one. Or maybe that's supposed to happen.
Yes.
You behold a less than mysterious crime scene as you approach Folsom this time. The big man's knuckles are bruised, so are the downcast eyes of the hooded man beside him. We killed the wrong cultist, Folsom growls. It was Kiatawa after all. She killed a woman named Michaela and fled the city. If you ever see her again, feel free to do the same thing to her that she did to my people. He pauses, then sighs. No one will miss that creature, Guzay. My people will feel safer now that she is gone. Still, killing her was not worth the price we paid. Tell me more about Kiatawa's last victim. Michaela was a merchant possessed of charming curiosity, he says. His face is calm, but his bruised fist trembles. She would be alive if we had not failed her. I'll find Kiatawa, I promise you. Good, he says. Then his broad shoulders sag, but the dead will remain dead. How are you supposed to know that? I don't understand how you're supposed to figure out that it's Kiatawa. It doesn't point to her at all. And you don't really have any... I don't know, it just felt like you had to guess. Let's see what it says. I'm just interested. Circles in red. Numenera, circles in red. Folsom suspects Matt Keena. She denies her involvement. She recognizes them as the Endless Gate. Matt is violent, ambitious, hungers for revenge. Kiatawa sneaks, plots, and keeps secrets. She clearly doesn't feel home in the cult. Confessed that she ate on her own. She shares her mistrust of her colleagues. I mean, I guess the only thing that kind of redeems Guzet and points to that they did not do it is that Guzet finds it religiously blasphemous to not eat the whole body. The fact that there's a hand left there is why Guzet is innocent, I guess. Well, one less monster in the world. At least they didn't kill Crooked Keek. I'm a little bit disappointed with how bad the mind reading is. It doesn't really help you with almost anything. A flayed hand lies at the center of the pool of blood. Its ragged stump points directly at the crimson circle painted on the nearby wall. Inspect the hand in the pool of blood. The small hand lies open, palm facing the ceiling. Frantic knife work has mangled the fingertips. You cannot tell if these injuries occurred because Michela was trying to defend herself or if the killer was simply in a hurry. Examine the bloody circle on the wall. This is the symbol of the Children of the Endless Gate, a splinter sect of the Dendra O'Her. Okay.
All right.
Why do you have cipher sickness? It's bugged. It didn't disappear on her. Okay. So, cipher sickness was applied to her because it got applied to me.
Get it out of my face.
Get what out of here?
But when I got rid of it, it didn't get removed.
Can't see a damn thing else.
Now she just has -1 might.
It's a joke. Put your daggers away, assassin.
The deformed teacher sees your approach, and it grunts and chitters with pleasure. The scent of newly unearthed stone surrounds it. Friendship, it signs. Surprised by construct, it taps its chest lightly in gratitude. Not expect hole by trash. It deflates slightly. Not ghost teacher tunnel. Scent tells not welcome. Its odor shifts subtly into loneliness. Not live long. It exhales resignation and mild optimism. Die away from sunlight. You've survived. How are you now that you have returned to your native habitat? Teacher gone. Broodmates left. Scent marks in tunnel. Tell keep away. It considers, then huffs out a cloud that smells like sadness. But live, for now. What are you eating down here? Beg food, old devices, drink lightning from them. It points to a tidy pile of Numenera that sits nearby. Looking more closely, you can see that they are mostly electrical power sources. Try keep clean. Is there anything down here I should know about? Not see, try survive. Okay, bye. Oh, we're almost done here.
In an instant.
What's going on over here? Have I checked this out? Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, we need to go and try to convince the guy. Fuck off.
Learning begets doing. Or is it the other way?
Omadon brightens as he sees you. Hello again, friend. Any news of Persea? Have you seen her? I heard a different story of how you met Persea. I heard you fell in love with her corpse and somehow restored her to life. Her face reddens with rage. Did Tranquility tell you this? Well, she lies. Persea was not dead. She was made inanimate by ancient technologies. I merely used other technologies to awaken her from a long slumber. Your story about meeting Persea is nothing like the one you told me before. You said you were mourning at the same grave. Can you blame me for telling a tale? Small-minded people would focus too much on the resurrection and not on the love that was born of it. He laughs, bitter. People are happy to say love conquers all to each other all day long, but break when they naively call the laws of nature to achieve it. But break what they naively call the laws of nature to achieve it, and they come after you with sticks. Tell me the truth. Did you wake Persea from sleep or did you resurrect her? The distinction is more subtle than you might think. Some of the prior worlds made no such distinction at all. He waves a hand. But that isn't important. What is important is that we love each other, and I must get her back. Honestly, I have no idea. Tranquility told me that you're the reason Persea is on the run. She hates and fears you. Hates me? His shoulders sag. She's hardly given me a chance. I gave her life. She should be grateful. Instead, she runs like I'm some monster. If she says she doesn't love you, then you should believe her. Do the right thing and let her go. He waves an angry hand. I am doing the right thing. I love her. How can love be wrong? You don't know her like I do. Nobody does. The Persea of your dreams don't exist. You're chasing a real woman who hates you. There's no happy ending here. It's a pretty shitty percentage, but we managed. For a long moment, Omadon looks like he's about to punch you, but then he turns away. You're right. My Persea was the one who slept. The one who woke was the stranger to me, and I have tortured both her and myself by trying to force her reality to match my fantasy. I have been a fool, and worse, a villain. She will not see me again. That was easy.
Yes.
Ability or skill? Ability. Skill. There. Now I can equip this on my main character. Instead, that can still go there. Unequip item. I don't like that the discard button is there. But hey. Level up, increase edge. And here's where she needs a little bit of speed edge. Just so she can at least shoot every turn for free. She already has intelligence edge, so she can heal every turn for free.
Maybe this won't be as hard as I thought. Why are you always scowling? You look like someone's about to hit you.
That'd be a good way to describe most of my life, as someone about to hit me.
I'm so sorry. This world is awful to everyone, I guess. I feel bad for you.
Thank you, Rin. If only the world felt the same way.
Okay, so last thing that I want to do that feels a little bit too hard to run into.
Ready.
It feels like you don't have to really interact with it.
Sure.
It's down here.
Fine.
Here. It's a bunch of things down there. Hello, Biblio. How does it compare to Planescape Torment? Not at all. Which is a good thing, because Planescape Torment is really, really awful. The Torment part is really just there as a marketing ploy. Which is why this game has a lot more negative reviews than it deserves. Because people are like, this isn't exactly like Planescape Torment, and then they give it a thumbs down.
Of course.
I like this game, but it's basically a visual novel. You have to really go into it like that. Tons of reading. This poor, portly man's cracked and bleeding hands are always moving, picking fretfully at his thick lips, running through his thinning hair or molding aimless shapes in the air. His clothes are marked with paint, dust, dried blood, and clay. His eyes brim with frustrated tears as he studies the strangely familiar sculptures arrayed around about him. A soul like slivers of ice, he mutters, fingertips long, shriveled, sharp, screams trapped in flesh. She holds him in place. She is killing him. He's not looking at her. Why? Why isn't he? Afraid? No? He claws absently at his sparse beard. What am I not seeing? What am I missing? Who was he? What was he feeling? Without that, I can do nothing. Planescape Torment is like one of my top 5 worst games of all time. The only thing that I feel like this game really has in common is that I think it might have the same artist who makes the music, or the same musician. And there are like some references to Planescape Torment. But it's just like... it's not related to the game, it's just they kind of use the same names just because. Otherwise, the only way I would say that they compare is in the same aimless ass way This game in the beginning is extremely aimless, and it's not really a good thing. And like all of Planescape Torment is just completely aimless. You're just walking around clicking things. But it kind of focuses up a bit more later, this game. Potential customer? What? No, you're not, he says, effortlessly drawing you into his self-directed tirade. No one wants these. They're honest but ugly, death pulled from dead stone. He coughs a cloud of dust, and I wouldn't sell it to anyone in any case, not even for a tuft of bread. None of them are worth buying, none of them are right. I'm Zaufi, stone carver, sculptor, divine painter of living eyes, and in this challenge, my greatest work, my talent has finally abandoned me. He sweeps a scornful hand at the sculptures. Behold my art, wanderer. Witness these dull stumps, these crude replicas of a sublime being. What is it you think I've made? Try to recall why the sculptures look so familiar. You stare at the sculptures. Your memories flow into its sweeping curves, teasing you with what you've seen in your short life, and beyond. Yes, this towering thing is the true form of the creature that pursues you. Zaufi has sculpted the sorrow. You don't realize that you've spoken aloud until you hear Zaufi's gasp and see the tears in his eyes. Yes, sorrow, or even grief is present in the work. I feel it, but where? I cannot pull it from the stone. I saw this creature on a cold night not long ago. Smoking coronas of blackened light drew me to my window. Zaufi says, shaping the scene with his palms. And there, on the street below, was she, gripping a man in her talons. Before my very eyes, she ripped his essence from him, leaving him a steaming husk. He drops his hands. But what do you care? You don't grasp the importance of capturing such a subject. I have seen aspects of her. Maybe I can help you capture the details. Zaufi stares at you dumbfounded. You think I'm trying to sculpt the killer? He says, and then immediately corrects himself. Of course I am. I've succeeded, in fact. She is just such a being. Zaufi clucks his tongue. But she doesn't need to be remembered. How could anyone forget such a lethal creature? No, the source of my ruin is this damnable man. Zaufi points a trembling finger at the faceless human, cradled in the statue's talons. A charred, oddly familiar pattern etched on the stone head. He stared eternity in the face and did not blink. But he will be forgotten unless I capture him here, and I cannot do that unless I know what drove him. Zaufi swallows. The moment he fell, I ran for the street, but the Dendra O'Her claimed his body and took it away, probably to their foul chapel in the underbelly. Now I will never know who he was. How many statues of this being have you made? Ha! If only my efforts could be limited so. I've sculpted that blasted moment in marble, granite and clay. I've painted it in oil and blood. It even follows me into sleep where I weave the scene from clouds and dream stuff. A frustrated tear rolls down his cheek. Even those were flawed. Is there anything else you can remember about the creature that killed your subject? What a surprise, Zaufi says with a ragged, scornful sigh. Yes, let us ignore the incandescent flare of this stranger's brief life and focus on his murderer. She is so much more glamorous. He grips his sparse hair as if it's going to fall out and glares at you. That's what you want, isn't it? That's what everyone wants. Like so many, he wants flash and flourish, but humanity is what truly inspires. No, I want to see this moment fully to understand why it inspires you so much. Well, the creature is hunting me too. I need to learn everything I can about it. Read a book then. Pester a scholark with your questions, for all the good it will do you. And when the beast claims you as well, spare a prayer for the artist who will drive himself into a grave trying to capture your final moments. If I learn anything about your subject, I'll let you know.
I'll remember that.
Grunts. Search the sorrow's latest victim at the Dendra or her chapel. Oh.
Yes.
She grabs your wrist and stops walking. She is trembling, staring at a wild-haired woman at the top of the platform.
It's her. Don't take me up there. Don't make me go back to her.
She looks at you, her eyes wide and pleading. Who is she? She's what's the word? She steals people. Her tone is low and she keeps herself partially hidden behind you. It's clear she doesn't want to attract attention. She found me, said I was her property. Those thugs who were looking for me, she sent them. But I won't go back. I'm never going back. She needs your gaze. You won't let me have her, right? Let's see what she has to say about this. She shakes her head vigorously. No, I won't go back. No matter what, you have to promise me. Promise you won't let her have me again. Very well, I promise. All right, she pauses, still staring at Tol. All right, I believe you.
Yes. Now.
Olmagur. As you approach this group, the wild-haired woman eyes you speculatively and whispers something to her companions. They burst out laughing. A slight smirk plays about her lips. A breathing mask dangles from a cord around her neck. You can see where it has cut permanent grooves into her face. She spots Rin and her face becomes carefully blank. You've brought my little bird back to me, I see. Send her over here, and I'll see that you're well compensated. I have information you want to cast off. He's a fresh one. I can smell it on him.
Remember that.
I don't want to go, she whispers. We need to talk about this, Tol. No, we don't. Just give me the girl and... She puts her hand to her face. Fine, fine. I didn't want to tell you this, but... Damn it. She grits her teeth. Here's my dirty secret, and if you tell anyone, I'll burn your flesh and scatter your bones. I'm a cast-off like you. You want to know why I want the girl. It's because she helps control the tides in me. She keeps them from slipping out into the world. Without Rin, everyone around me gets hurt or even killed. If I use an adult for this, they die. So here's the deal. Give me the kid. I'll teach you how to control your tides better. Don't, and, well, let's not get into don't, eh? Yeah, I like Kingmaker. I'm tired of playing D&D games. They're a little too tedious. But I like the role-playing in it. I mean, I played it like 3 times so far, so can't really complain. I do think it's probably the best D&D game. Even though it's still teetering into cringe territory with the writing. Cringe modern bullshit. I still think it had really nice role-playing. It's one of the only CRPGs like this where it really feels like you are kind of role-playing, because there are so many approaches to things. The only thing that kills it for me is that if you play like a wizard or you have a cleric or whatever with you, like if you have a cleric and you have a bard and you have a mage, you're sitting there casting buffs for every fight for like 5 minutes. Do you want to play the game properly? Every time I played it, I've ended up installing mods that just like auto cast all the buffs in 1 second. Otherwise it's just like unplayable. Unless you just ignore it, but then it's kind of designed to use buffs. Otherwise it's kind of hard. No deal, we'll have to settle this some other way. No, the time for talk is over. She stares at you, and you feel a sudden swirling in your psyche, a cacophony of dueling emotions. She's doing something with the tides, filling you with sickness and despair, the overwhelming compulsion to lie down and sob. She stops, a grim smile on her face. You want an example of what cast-offs can do. You want to know why I want the girl. She stops me from doing that. Now give her to me. Did you just use the tides on me? Is that what you do to Rin? Frequently, she smiles. Do you have a problem with it? It's better than the alternative. I'm not a leech or a killer. I'm not. You should learn how to control your powers better. You don't need to use someone else as a sponge. She spits, not quite at your feet, but certainly near them. Says the cast-off who can't control his own tides. So how can you justify keeping Rin in your custody? Release your claim. Whatever.
I'll remember that.
She grits her teeth. Fine, you've convinced me. You can keep her, but you treat her right, you hear? If I get even a hint that you've made Rin unhappy, I'll track you across the ninth world. She concentrates a moment, and the miasma that filled your mind lifts. You know what? I'll even live up to my part of the bargain. I'm going to teach you about your tides, because it will help you keep Rin safe. You ready for this? Alright, let's do it. She fights to keep the despairing sneer on her face. You know I hate all of this cast-off skist, yeah? Alright. So, the changing god, he made us. Maybe not on purpose, maybe we're just an accident, but he made us. He uses the tides to transfer his mind. You've felt them, I'm sure. Surges of power, emotion, whatever. That's the tides, and they're pushing around inside you. You focus them into something. You can make a weapon out of them. Manifests differently for each of us. Most of us don't think about it, but I figure use every tool at your disposal. She breathes out. Close your eyes. Feel the coiling power in you. That's the tides. Now feel this. I'm going to push a little power at you. Try to fight it off. With your eyes closed, you can see the energy emanating from her. A dark and angry spike of red-hued power that drifts toward you. Instinctively, you raise your hands to bat it away, and she snorts, "With your mind, use your tides." As the tidal dagger drifts closer, you feel something inside you uncoiling, a vast and relentless power whose depths you can barely comprehend. It's reminiscent of the energy you used to blast the sorrow fragments from your mind, but now you can control it, and you breathe out, pushing her probe away. "That's it," she says. "That's it. Practice that." She pushes away. We're done. Skill level in tidal affinity is increased by 1. Current level is trained. Now that I know you're a cast-off, let's talk about you a little more. It's not a core part of my identity, you know. I don't walk around thinking, oh, I'm a cast-off. Let me think about my place in the world. She jabs a finger into your chest. I'm my own person. Got it? But fine. Ask your questions. Have you ever heard of Mass-Off? No, like I said, I don't keep in contact with cast-offs. Whatever the rest of you do, it's your business. Do you know any other cast-offs? What is it you hope to accomplish with your life? Why become a slaver when you're effectively immortal? She eyes you speculatively. Why? Because it was easy to fall into the life? Because it was a challenge to get good at it. Because I don't particularly care what others think about me. She rakes her hair back. This tattoo, it doesn't define me. I'm not the man who made me. I owe him nothing. I owe you nothing. I owe the world nothing. It's my life and these are my choices. I won't argue that choosing your own life is the best course, but why slavery? Because I'm mismatching myself against the criminal caste. No, because I'm matching myself against the criminal class. Because I don't like people. Because it's not your damn business. My choices are my own, and they're not subject to review. I have no standing to judge your choices. Then what gives you the right to judge others? You mean who gives me the right? The answer is easy. She smiles crookedly. I do. That's the whole point of this exercise, isn't it? My life, my rules. You don't like it? Get out of the way. No one's making you deal with me. She spits. If you don't have any other epiphanies you want to share with me, I've got some important none of your business to attend to. Do you know anything about the sorrow? The what? She looks genuinely puzzled for a moment. Oh, you mean that monster that looks like the night mated with some year-old corpses? I don't. Nothing that would be helpful anyway. I felt it a while back though. She shivers. Felt like it glanced my way. Felt like it told me not yet. She shakes herself free of the memory, but no, can't help with anything about it. Farewell. Okay.
Let's go all, you and me.
Alright, let's do this new quest. You can go down here.
All right. I'm ready. Yes.
Examine the cast-off's corpse again. Again your eyes are drawn to the remnants of the cast-off's tattoo. It looks like it burst into flame when he died, burning right through his skin into the skull beneath. He stares into the middle distance, gaunt and haunted. It was Kiyatawa, he says. I should have known. I wish I'd known. She tasted of fear and sorrow, but never rage, never that kind of hunger. How do you think Kiyatawa discovered the Endless Gate? We were so proud, he says, his usual cheer deserting him. We chased the children of the Endless Gate from Sagas, never considered that they might bear a grudge, that they might return. He looks at the oily ceiling. There is a sickness in them, a contagious one. I can only imagine that one of them returned to Saga's cliffs and died here, perhaps on purpose. Kiyatawa discovered the corpse, devoured it, and heard the song that spills from the Endless Gate. A sculptor told me that your people may have found a man killed by a strange creature. Yes, he says. I believe I know the poor man. Dry as a leaf, hollow as an eggshell, barely any mind left in there at all. He clucks his tongue. Inspect him at your leisure. He is the one with the charred skin on his brow.
Updated my journal.
Now, I don't know much more about him, he says, chuckling. Though I can assure you we plumbed the depths of his mind and body for answers, but I seem to recall seeing him before. Possibly not through my eyes, mind you. In Cliff's Edge. He was coming out of a building near the chirurgical parlor.
We shall see.
There's a building there? There's only like one collapsed building there.
Ready.
Here?
I'm ready.
The salty air only partially mutes the cloud of putrid sweetness clinging to this jumble of fallen wood, stone, and iron. Until recently, this was someone's home, but the unstable ground must have caused it to collapse. Search the rubble for clues. You shift aside broken pieces of furniture and small pieces of rubble, but you find nothing of value. After a short while, you realize what has happened. Someone has already picked through the ruins and taken the more accessible valuables. You stand back, concentrating. Nothing about the pile of stone is familiar, but the view from where the door once stood, a boundless horizon filling into the sea, is.
Making a note.
This appears to be the house where the cast-off once lived, but either he left no clues of his identity or they were taken by the scavengers. It might be helpful to ask around the area, see if anyone spotted someone losing this house. Study the horizon, or if anyone spotted someone looting from this house. Study the horizon. Fingers of wind rake at your face. You squint into the sunlight, trying to remember. You've stood here before. You know you have, letting your thoughts untangle. The skyline tilts and you stagger as the memory engulfs you. You grip the edge of the crude banister, grimacing at the sea. The qualm of the scene no longer touches you as it once did, nor, you realize, does this body. You smile at your own impatience. Your restlessness must rival the ocean itself.
Remember that.
A gust of salty air bears the memory away in ribbons, leaving your mind aching and dry atop the ruins of the house. There is little doubt now. The changing god and the cast-off killed by the sorrow once lived here. Dig through the pile to find the source of the stench. Critical success. The smell intensifies as you heave aside a slab of ceiling. A swarm of startled insects spin away into the sky, revealing the body of a young woman, torn and crushed. An invisible hand rips the air from your chest and the strength from your legs. You fall, feeling a presence close around you, a heat on your back. Who's there? Your words are a whisper. You can barely breathe now and the heat fills you like a fever. Suddenly a cool hand covers your burning eyes. A smooth arm folds over your stomach.
Making a note.
And just like that, the heat is gone. You whirl around. No one is there. But you sense something has changed in the labyrinth. Okay.
Yes. Now.
So if we need to go to the labyrinth.
All right, here I go.
Let's go there. Why'd you bring me here? Where does this go anyway? Does this just lead back to the Stitcha? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to be sure.
Ready. faltering.
Kill yourself.
That
Okay.
would hurt. On it.
Didn't we figure out already? Can you tell me anything else about what you are? The hand cupped around the candle flame. You aren't a reflection, are you? Can you leave my mind with me? Tendrils tickled the silent spaces behind your eyes. Images of the people already traveling with you flashed through your thoughts. Whispers shyly at last, its eyes contracting fold by fold. It seems the creature doesn't want to join you when so many are traveling with you already.
Yes.
A woman-shaped hole in the air stands before you, her palms outstretched, and you sense something different. A smell, if emotions could smell. It is sharp confusion and a sense of displacement. Somehow, this woman's shade knows she does not belong here in your mind.
Making a note.
Oh, says the spectre, strolling up beside you. A reflection from a different cast-off, isn't it? He studies the outline's outstretched hands. She is lost something, he says after a moment. Something out in the world that she misplaced or was taken from her. If you want to draw her here, you'll have to find it. You turn back to the woman-shaped void. She continues to face you, hands held out imploringly, ignoring the spectre completely. Who are you? The woman-shaped void does not respond in any way. The tides within you, however, do. You feel them uncoiling from you, reaching into the gap for whatever is lost within. Perhaps you can use them to pull the woman into being. I wouldn't, he says, conversationally. I mean, it will probably work, but there's no telling what will happen. Just off the top of my head, it might give you the worst headache you've ever had, but it would probably be worse than that. What is it you want? For a second, another outline flickers in her outstretched hands. A box or cube-like shape. Then it is gone and it doesn't return. Can you hear me? You fancy that you hear your words echoing in the dark, hollow space within the woman-shaped outline, and someone very distantly calling back. I don't think she can hear you, he says. For that matter, I don't think it's even a she right now. She's more of a placeholder than a person, an arrow pointing somewhere else in the labyrinth. He peers cautiously into the outline in the air as though it is long and potentially dangerous. As it is a long and potentially dangerous tunnel. You'll need to find what she is missing before you can bring her forward. And you won't find it here, I think. Hello? This time you hear no response. That's still closed.
Go.
Okay. We'll have to go and ask around.
Don't do that! Don't leave me all alone! Trust and honesty are our bonds.
Like a whistle.
Back over here.
I feel like I can take on the world!
Let's go.
What is it, my lad? I want to ask you about someone in particular. No, I don't really care.
Yes.
Hello, Madela, you know anything? Madelia glittering. Doesn't care. What about these people? Surprise briefly registers on the cultist's face when she sees you. Then she gives you a brief but respectful bow. Holy One! We hadn't expected to see you up here. How may I help you? He's here. Finally I get to study him up close. Who lived in that ruined house against the cliff? A cultist glances at the others. They shake their heads. A man, she says, but we don't know his name or where he is. He always took great care to avoid us. I think someone may have looted that ruined house against the cliff. Did you see who it was? Yes, Holy One. Dirty children, orphans perhaps, were digging through the rubble. I believe they took some food and valuables, but we were trying not to stare. You seem less deferential than some of my other followers. Why? You're testing me, she says, rather pleased, and clears her throat. Some of us revere you, it is true. Others, and I include myself, honor you for your boundless wisdom, your bottomless knowledge, but we wish to emulate you, to become you. She coughs, flushing a little, in a manner of speaking.
This world, then.
Dang it, kids. Give me my shit back.
Yes, child.
The boy salutes you as you approach. Good to see you again, sir. How can I help you? Have you and your friends been picking through the ruins near the chirurgical park?
I'll remember that.
He nods. That was us. I found some food, but we already ate it. And Avina got some kind of Numenera box. He covers his mouth. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. You're not going to take it away from her, are you? If it is what I'm looking for, I might. I hope it isn't. She loves that thing. Song today? How much? Here's 12. Play me a happy song. Thank you, sir. This one should give you a lift.
Just what I needed.
Can I ask some questions? Someone saw children playing in the ruins of a collapsed house. Was that you? I had a feeling you were smart, not like most grown-ups, she shrugs. Zeb and I rummaged through the house for something to eat. He got some stale bread and dried fruits, but I found something even better. Here, I'll show you. She pulls something small out of her pocket. It looks like a metallic cube, but there is something strange about the geometry, as if you weren't quite seeing it in perspective. It's a trick box. I don't know why, but it just felt right when I picked it up. She twists it gently this way and that, but the box remains sealed. You can faintly hear something rattling about inside. I haven't figured out how to open it yet, but I will. I met a girl who is very sad to have lost that. Can I bring it back to her? She hesitates for a long moment, then holds it out to you. I guess so. Thank you, I'll take it to her. She gazes sadly at the box as you put it away. Pulling her eyes away from the box, she looks up at you. Was that all you wanted? Yeah. Is this your house? Who lives here? Yeah. The house is in bad shape? Yeah, whatever.
Fine.
Right. At first glance, the metallic cube seems simple enough. Then you see light reflecting off a myriad of tiny silvery panels within. Behind them is an intricate network of coils and springs. Something rattles within. Examine it. You raise the cube to eye level and shake it again. Nothing moves within, but once again you hear the rattle of an object trapped inside. Something rough grazes the edge of your thumb. Turning the cube sideways, you see a finely etched diagram, a labyrinthine network of circuits. No, it's an ancient machine language you recognize from your studies of old technology. It says, "To my daughter, let this gift occupy your time until I return, and I will return. That is a promise." You look closer. Near the word promise are two identical interlocking sigils, two hands joined together. They look slightly more pronounced than the rest of the words. Smell it. Beneath the expected greasy stench of metal, you detect salt, the mingled aroma of heated metal and stone. A fearsome sense of nostalgia grips you for a moment, tied to absolutely nothing that you can recall. Squeeze it between your hands. You press the box between your palms and it collapses with a satisfying, hissing series of clicks. When you let go, it immediately springs back into seemingly rigid shape. Press down on the sigils representing joined hands. The button resists at first. It clearly hasn't been pushed in years, if it ever has been at all. But when it gives way with a somewhat worrying snap, a chorus of mechanical clicks begins inside, like the beating of many distant wings. They fall silent and one of the sides slides away, not into a socket but into non-existence. On the inner face is a dark hole surrounded by more words. In truth this time. 4 numbered buttons surround the circle like the points of a compass. Read the inscription. I enclose a memory of happier days along with your gift. See it as I do, cradle it in your hands, and hear me when I say that I am proud of you, and I hope you are not still angry with me. Press the first button. Something clicks within the box. Press the second button. Another click sounds from the center of the cube. Press the third button. Clunk. Press the fourth button. Clunk. Okay, so 1, 2, 4. The top of the cube folds away, revealing the gift within. A ring, loosed from its cradle. Perhaps it got loose on its own, or perhaps the daughter solved the puzzle long ago and rejected the gift. You lift the ring from its cradle, tuck it away and snap the cube closed. Adaptation. Gain protected, +2 armor, +1 resistance, armor bonus +2 per tier, resistance bonus +1 per tier. That is insane, dude. What the fuck? I'm equipping that shit. Screw this ring. Now does this... Oh, it's an ability. It's an ability. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, okay, I thought it was passive or something, but no. It literally just gives me this. And I already have that, so... Okay, this is pointless then. Let's go back to that. Put that on you. +2 damage on esoteric attacks. Makina does have esoteric attacks, don't she? Like, this is an esoteric. Warp dash. So you can put that kind of stuff on her. Like this one. +2 damage on esoteric attacks. Because right now, this one does... It does 1 damage by just teleporting. So what you can do is... if you have 2 edge, she can just teleport using this. And if you have like 2 of these that just give +2 damage, then it does 5 damage for free. As just a way to move. Which should be pretty good. Because this also gives -15% evasion. Now, of course, you'd also have to level this up so that it counts as... or so that it hits easier.
Can you tell me stories about your childhood, Maddie?
It's Matkina. And let me answer that with a question. Do you like nightmares?
No.
Then you probably don't want to hear my stories, Rin.
I'm ready.
Alright. Let's go kill ourselves again.
Learning begets doing. Or is it the other way?
Yes.
You want it done right.
And we die.
Can't die. All right.
The woman-shaped hole in the air awaits, hands outstretched. Place the puzzle box in the outline's palm.
I'll remember that.
You gently place the cube in the shadowy figure's hands. They close over it and... a young woman, the one you found dead in the ruins of the house, plunges towards you out of the darkness, filling the outline until the outline is her. She nearly stumbles into you before she stops herself, blinking hard. "Ouch," she says. You notice that the box you gave her is now as ghostly as she is. "Well done," the spectre says, turning away from the stunned woman. I'll give you two some room to talk." You turn to the young woman again. She glances at the darkness above you, and something about the expression reminds you of someone. Of course, the ghostly woman in the fifth eye. "You look familiar. What is your name?" "Syria," she says. "You remember me. You found me beneath the chunks of my adopted father's house with my guts smashed to paste. Who was your adoptive father?" "Orsiolo. He was one of you," she says carelessly. "A cast-off, I mean." A frown creases her forehead. Poor old man. He never wanted to be special. He found me, fed me, talked to me when I was, troubled. She sighs. "When the house fell on me, I guess he couldn't stand it, and he went looking for a way to die."
Updated my journal.
She falls silent, but you don't need to be told what happened next. You've seen the statue after all. It was grief that drove Orsello to seek death in the Shadow's arms. Syria watches you, eyes shining with some inner light. You were important to him. Do you know why?
I'll remember that.
"He thought he could help me," she says simply. "He tried to calm me when that woman's voice in my head said I was her and not me." She smiles sadly. "I wasn't the first. He'd helped other girls like me before. But I think he knew it couldn't last," she says, her smile fading. "He was afraid, but not for himself. He knew I was going to die. One time he said he'd seen me die too many times, then shut himself up. He claps a hand to her mouth, lowers it, like that. She shrugs, but he wasn't wrong, was he? Even if he was a little crazy to begin with. You seem awfully at peace about all this. Well, I'm not really me, she says. I'm a reflection of what my father saw of me. The only piece of his mind that's left. When he died, his part of the labyrinth, well, I want to say it broke, but it was worse than that. The cracks burst up through the ground and everything started crumbling. I could feel parts of him slipping away, snapping off. She shudders. I'm glad you brought me here. I could have fallen apart eventually, and then there'd be nothing of him left. Nothing of either of us. A creature named the Sorrow killed Orziolo. Do you have any idea how it found him? No, she says, staring at the air, thinking. He didn't abuse his power, like some of you do. Didn't pull against the tides or use them as weapons. He never wanted to be noticed, to be found. She breathes in, breathes out. Didn't matter, did it? Do you know anything else about Orziolo? I should, shouldn't I? She says, chuckling. I was part of his mind, after all. She passes a hand over her forehead absently, leaving her ghostly eyebrows completely disheveled. But no, if I focus, I can see the other women he took care of. The ones that look like me, I mean. But it's like looking through dirty glass. I think that means he didn't want to think about them, or couldn't. She shrugs, looking away. I don't know why he spent all that time caring for us. I guess I'll never know for sure now. But, alright, one time, I asked him what his tattoo meant. Atonement, he said, but not, dramatically. He said it like he was saying his name, like... She pauses, rubbing her forehead again. Like it was everything he was, like if he couldn't atone for, whatever it was, there was no reason to exist anymore. She sighs. But I don't know why he started, and I'll never get a chance to ask him. Grinning again, she rolls her eyes. And that's it. That's all I know about the man who raised me for years. Kids, huh? What does that puzzle box mean to you? My father gave it to me, she says, beaming down at the ghostly version of the box in her hands. He said it was a very old puzzle and that solving it would help me. She chuckles. I never did, but fumbling with it made me feel better. I always had the feeling that the pictures on it might mean something, but that was as far as I got. Damn, you're retarded. I'll be here, in your head. And she is. You abruptly feel her presence inside your mind, as she's always been there. A new weight behind your temples. Something has happened on an instinctual level. You have established a bond with this reflection. Some of her gifts are yours, and you feel stronger for it. However, this link fully occupies a corner of your mind. You may be able to forge connections with more than one reflection in the labyrinth, but not many. Gain +1 might, speed, and intellect pool. Okay.
Ready.
Thank the gods. I thought you were going to leave me here.
Shut up, Rin.
Yes.
Now we see if we can get anything out of this guy.
That's the stuff.
Zalfi's red-rimmed eyes narrow as you approach. You've learned something of my subject. Why did he go willingly into his murderer's arms? Tell me, leave nothing out. He knows something, I can see it on his face. His daughter was killed when their home collapsed. Grief drove him to seek his own death.
I'll remember that.
Grief! Zaufi shouts, lunging at his nearest sculpture. He was ruled by sorrow, and the creature killed him. Did he call to her? Was it anger? No. Resignation? Madness. Carving, scraping, shouting, and muttering. Zaufi has clearly forgotten you are here, except for one detail. His hand gropes clumsily in his pocket, retrieving a pouch and thrusts it at you. Good luck and farewell. Spirit Shroud. When damaged by energy, chemical, mental, or transdimensional damage, confers Spirit Shroud. Plus 15% evasion. Active 1 round. This looks super gay. This looks terrible. I'm gonna keep that on. And they all have cloaks. And I'm the only one who can use it anyway. So, fine. This one has slightly more resistance. Let's just use that. That's a level. Increase effort, increase stat pool. She doesn't have a lot of stat. Ability or skill. Deception, initiative. Light weapon. Cipher use. Let's make her better at fighting. So we have someone who can do that.
Yeah, that's something I could do.
Alright. I guess it's time for the next chapter. Maybe we'll take a break there. It's almost been 3.5 hours. Go and get something to eat.
Let's go.
Naturally.
Though I don't know if you need to do much other than talk to this guy, but we'll stop there. And we'll see what we do later. If we do some rally or if we just play more of this, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll see you then. Thanks for hanging. Bye bye.